Okay, so today I'm talking about cat enrichments, and specifically at the shelter because I work at the Humane Society. And so why do we use enrichments? A lot of times we think of physical needs and we meet those, but we also need to meet their emotional and mental needs as well. And so it helps with their health and helps them to appropriately express natural behaviors. And an enrichment can occur by either adding something or taking it away. And at the shelter, we try to have it at least 15 minutes per day and two times for kittens, since they're more playful and active. So with enrichments, we talk about the 5 senses. So we have sound. Because cats prefer a quieter environment, you could add a white noise machine, or they have specific music soundtracks for cats that are soothing to them. And then also talking at a low voice is helpful instead of being loud and obnoxious. Sight. Cats are very observant. They're predatory animals. It's really funny, like when you have a mouse and you see their eyes get like super big and dilate. So different things you could do. You could add bubbles, have a window. Some of our cats have access to windows so they can look outside or even go outside. And new toys or like cat wands that you can wave around. Smell. Cats have really good sense of smell and they like to mark things. So giving them scratching posts or just any new smell like essential oil type things, as long as they're not too strong. And then catnip is also really popular. A lot of people like to see them go crazy with that stuff. And then taste, you can use treats or cycle the flavor of food that you use. That can be some sort of enrichment. And then finally touch, you can provide different surfaces for them to lay on, like different kinds of beds and stuff like that. So the benefits are it reduces stress and improves their health. It allows them to perform some natural behaviors such as hunting. And it makes it less stressful for us during cleaning. If you have an enrichment, maybe if you can give them like treats or something while you're cleaning their cage. It increases adoptions because they're happier, more active, and that's what people like to see. They develop good life skills for their future home, so that like for scratching, they'll scratch on a board instead of someone's furniture. And then finally, safety of workers. Again, with them being happy, there's less aggression and fear in their environment, and they're more confident and willing to interact with you. So then I'm just going to go through a bunch of different enrichments that you can do. So balls, mice, toy, and small objects. Pros are they mimic prey. They're easy to promote movement and they're easy to clean usually. The cons are that it requires space to play, and like when you have a cat that's in a cage, you can't really run around or they'll knock over water and litter. So feather toys resemble a bird, so that's really good for their prey instincts. It's also pretty cheap, but they can be hard to clean because they fall apart pretty easily and they can be adjusted, so you want to watch out for that. Hanging toys, the pro is that they're off the ground, so it allows more space, and it's self-interacting. You don't have to play with them. It moves on its own. The cons are that you have to make sure they don't get entangled because that can be a hazard to them. Disposable toys like paper rolls and paper. We have a ton of like paper towel rolls at the shelter, and like volunteers can cut them up into like balls or these little toys. So it's a really cheap idea. The cats love them, and you can change the form of them. The only con is that it's a one-time use. So, and then interactive toys are like ones with batteries that kind of move on their own. The pros for that are if you have an old cat or one that's not very motivated, they can be more interested in something that moves, like prey, and causes mental stimulation. And some cons are that it does require a battery, could be a choking hazard, and just harder to clean as well. Cat wands. You can actually play with your cat with the cat wand so that you have the human-cat interaction. And you could play with multiple cats at once. If you like throw it around in a bunch of cats in cages, follow it with their eyes. The cons are that the person can cause stress if they do too rapidly and aren't reading the cues of this cat, or sanitation. They're kind of hard to clean. Puzzle toys are very enriching and allow foraging behaviors and strategic thinking. The cons are it could be too challenging that the cat doesn't figure it out and doesn't think it's fun, and they don't know what to do. And then there's the catnip. of cats react to the smell of it. You just want to be careful not to overstimulate them. But it's easy and fairly cheap. We actually have some growing at the shelter, so you can just pick it and put it in their cage. And they like it. And then food we talked about. You can give them treats. It doesn't last very long, so that's why it's not super great. But and then human enrichment. The pros of that is that it can strengthen the bond between the cat and the human, and that can be through brushing or talking or training them. The cons are not everyone knows how to read cat behavior, so you can overstimulate or make the cat angry, which is not what we want to do. That's it.
Let's give her a round of applause. Questions, comments? Now, I got a question, and maybe I should, but I don't have time to visit all these rescue places. For a typical place, are the cats just in like this cage where there's water and litter and that's it?
Yeah,
Tell me.
food, water, a towel, and then hopefully an enrichment.
And there's like stacks of these things? Okay. And they spend 24 hours a day there? Yeah, now that's pretty sad. The only reason I'm asking that is, you know, I always talk about the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in southern Utah. None of the cats, there's 600 cats there, none of them are in a cage like you just told me. They're in a room.
The Indy Humane Society also does that. They have cat rooms.
Yeah, we do have a happy cat room, which is about 7 or 8 of them can
Yeah,
go in.
yeah, and this, imagine 600 cats, but not a one is in a cage,
Right.
you know?
That's
And like the manager of a building has to be in a room where a cat or two lives. Because I'll never forget it, you know, there was a woman, here's her phone in her desk and she's doing things. But to get to her, you have to get into this cat room because the cat lives there too. And the cat had like a little sleeping place on another desk. Can you imagine that job? You go to work and you go into a cat room and then you're calling and yeah, so it's really, and that's a place where cost is no object. And they're always working on enrichment. I mean, they're just like incredible stuff. And then these other shelters, I know by space and money, it's hard, so but it's pretty tough. Because when I went down to the Great Indy Pet Expo this weekend, there were some dogs up for adoption. I told my wife, look at those sad eyes. And then there's one in the back, and look at those sad eyes. Because people are going by and they might have been up for adoption for months, and you just read their face, and like, I'm very sad. Good job. Take your flash drive out of there. Excellent.